All right. Good morning, everyone. I see people are still joining us, but it is 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started with this live special weather briefing for November 15th, 2021 to talk about potential windstorm and the impacts, some flooding issues, and also potential for snow. So I got the recording going, and okay, looks like everything is going good. All right, let's get started. All right, as you probably saw this morning with our weekly briefing, we are expecting a pretty significant windstorm today. The winds obviously have been blustery, very breezy yesterday and overnight, and are expected to pick up later this morning, early afternoon, and then continue through the evening hours. As always with these types of windstorms, the most likely impacts are damage to trees, power outages, and of course, difficulty for high-profile vehicles. Thankfully, we should not be dealing with any blowing dust today because of all the recent rain. So let's get into it. So here's the timing. I'll just start off with the timing and stay here for a second to let you read through this. This gives you an idea of what time the winds will increase. Already gusting to close to 40 miles per hour in the Columbia Basin this morning. Out of the south, we have a cold front that's going to approach and bring some showers, heavy mountain snow, and then showers as it crosses during the afternoon hours. So around noon, ahead of that front, between noon and 3, winds are going to increase out of the south, gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour. And then with that frontal passage, as the cold front actually moves across the area, that's when we have the best potential for winds gusting 45 to maybe even 60 miles per hour as it crosses the area. And then after 8 p.m., the front will push on across Idaho, North Idaho, and then into western Montana. And so at that point, for the inland Northwest, the winds will begin to decrease, but still blustery overnight with gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour for the rest of the night. And just for the color scale that you see here between the minor, moderate, and high impacts or major impacts, yellow is something that we would expect to occur frequently with localized impacts. Obviously, as you go up into the orange and red, these are more rare events and the more impacts that we expect. So that's how we have tried to illustrate that. So I'll let this animated GIF play a couple times so you can kind of see what the timing is. This is one of our high-resolution computer models that simulates the winds and the wind speeds. And so you can see right around 3 to 8 p.m., the winds will increase and then shift. So the more orange and red colors are the stronger gust. And so you kind of see that at the beginning this morning, the winds are out of the south and gusty. And then in the afternoon, they increase out of the southwest with very strong gusts. 45 to 60 miles per hour. And I think that's all I want to say about that. Confidence, I have that in there as moderate, and I'll talk about this again here in a minute. Compared to, say, the November 17th, 2015 windstorm, where our confidence was very high, there's still a little bit of confidence, moderate confidence in exactly what those wind speeds will be. So it's kind of a tricky game we're playing here, but this is our best guess at this point. This is what we're going with that 45 to 60 miles per hour. This is hot off the presses, just updated about 25 minutes ago. So the morning forecasters came in and took a look and upgraded a little bit. We do have 60 to 65 and even paint 65 to 70 along that I-90 corridor between Ritzville and Spokane. So that's up on the western plains, some potential gusts over 60 miles per hour. And then on the bottom left there, I have those most likely impacts with wind speeds at this level are down trees, property damage, limbs or trees blocking roadways, and then obviously power outages alongside with that. This kind of breaks down the impacts that we typically see with these kinds of wind speeds. So with 40 to 50 miles per hour, that's what we would consider minor impacts with just a few or scattered power outages with down limbs and trees. And then as you increase the wind speeds, you increase the impact. So more potential for those trees and limbs to come down. One thing that we were considering is how much moisture, how much rain that we've had over the last week or two. And so the ground is a little bit saturated right now. So how that plays into the trees, if they're more likely to come down because of the saturated soil, that could be a factor. But it's around that 60 mile per hour range where we start to see high impacts, widespread power outages, more numerous or widespread damage from those down trees. So that's what we are forecasting. The graphic up at the top left kind of highlights the most likely, the best potential for those 60 mile per hour winds. But one thing that I wanted to point out is there are some signs that the northern mountains, the northern valleys and the northern mountains could also experience stronger winds. So we're looking at that very closely. I don't want to eliminate North Idaho, Bonner, Boundary County, Pend Oreille, Stevens County. I don't want to eliminate those from that potential, but we're looking closer at that right now. You guys are definitely not out of the woods. So comparing windstorms, the weekend shift was looking back at some comparable storms, and one of them that stood out was the November windstorm of 2003, which resulted in scattered tree damage, eastern Washington and North Idaho, gusts to 55 miles per hour with isolated gusts to 70. So that's very similar to this. Like I was saying, compared to the November 17th, 2015 windstorm, this one is shorter in duration and not expected to be as strong, and we don't have the high degree of confidence that we had for that 2015 windstorm. And then I was just looking at earlier this year, the January 13th windstorm that we had could be similar impacts to that storm. We are forecasting similar wind speeds and duration as the January 13th storm. So that's might be a little bit more fresh in people's memory. So that could be a good comparable storm if you're looking for impacts that you can expect later today and tonight. So that's the wind speeds, and I'll come back and I can answer questions at the end about potential impacts and wind speeds. This morning, or actually overnight, the River Forecast Center made a significant increase in the forecast flood potential out west in the Lee of the Cascades, up the Okanagan and Chelan counties. So I wanted to point out, we just updated this just in the last hour. The rivers are starting to rise very quickly. The Similkameen especially, there's a lot of water up in the mountains. If you haven't seen on the west side, they are having major and some record flooding. There is tremendous amount of water in the system up in British Columbia, and it is starting to make its way down into the Okanagan. So the River Forecast Center is catching up and updating that forecast. And by some estimation, this still might be conservative. And I hate to say that, but there's obviously a lot of uncertainty in these river forecasts, and they're looking at that data constantly. This is the most up-to-date forecast for the Similkameen near Nighthawk. Very quick river rises and expected to hit minor flood stage and then very close to moderate flood stage by Tuesday morning. So keep an eye on that, and we'll keep updating that. The other one I wanted to point out was the Okanagan. Also, this is a significant change from what was previously forecast as even 24 hours ago. So I expected very sharp rise in the river system in the Okanagan. So be aware of that. I also wanted to mention potential for snow. This might be our first widespread low elevation snow, and that's later this week, Thursday night into Friday. So, confidence is kind of low to moderate at this point. It looks like a good pattern to get widespread snow. It could be light, could be moderate, somewhere in there. So just wanted to make that plug, keep you aware. I know we have the windstorm to deal with today, but later this week we should be expecting our first widespread snow event. So I will leave this up and start to answer questions. One item I did want to pass on was to be sure to log on to NWS Chat. If you have not logged on in a while, you might have to reset your password. But that's where our forecasters will be today, monitoring that 24 hours a day, answering questions. You can ask questions privately if you don't want to send a group chat. If you have any questions, either reach out to this phone number, this email, or myself. This is Andy Brown, if you didn't know. You can email me, andrew.brown@noaa.gov. So all day long, we'll be relaying information in NWS Chat, including the local storm reports that document all the impacts as we become aware of them, which includes all the trees down, property damage, power outages, etc. So if you have not done that, just Google NWS Chat, and that should be the first one that comes up on your Google or internet search. All right, with that, I'm going to stand by for questions. I see the question box is lit up. So let me see what I can just stand by. So yes, Mike did mention the soil moisture, and so definitely that seems to be a possibility with the soil moisture and greater potential than it was maybe a month ago for trees to come down because the soil is very saturated right now. I will be sending out these slides as soon as I finalize them and put some notations on a few things that I've noticed that I missed as I was going through this. So yes, I'm recording this and I will send out the slides immediately. You are welcome, Mike. Again, this phone number here at the bottom is our 24/7 partner phone number. Call us anytime for questions. We are extra staffed today, staffed up to handle the extra workload, so we're ready to take your questions or email us. If you come across damage and want to share images as well, social media, or you can email that to us because we're going to document everything that we can. And while there's no more questions, I'm sure we will also have a after action review on this event. So, gather your information, and at some point in the next week or so, as things slow down, we'll send out some questions to get feedback on how this event panned out and learn from this. Other briefings in the state today. That's a good question. Patrick asked if there's other briefings in the state today. You would have to, that's a good question. I can't think off the top of my head where we have all those in the same location. He's asking about briefings from Seattle and Portland and other Weather Service forecast offices. Typically, you have to sign up on their email distribution individually.
10:30 Seattle.
Okay, so I was just Seattle was going to do their briefing at 10:30 this morning. So that is coming up. Okay. And if you send me an email, Patrick, I can possibly find if there is a link. That's actually a really good idea. To have one-stop shop for all these briefings. All right. Thank you, Eric. They're having Seattle is going to have virtual office hours at 10:30 where you can call in and speak to a forecaster, or it's available through Google Meet. Thank you, Eric, for sharing that information. All right, I'll stand by for any more questions. Ooh, we have more people here than we did during our partner workshop. That's exciting. You are welcome. All right, not seeing any other questions. I'm going to stop the recording, but I will stay here